Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling something almost every language learner bumps into. That really annoying habit, thinking in your first language and then sort of translating word by word into English before you actually speak.
Oh, absolutely. It's so common. And you're right. It's probably the single biggest reason people get frustrated because they understand English pretty well.
Yeah, listening or reading is fine.
Exactly. But then speaking, it just doesn't flow. It's not spontaneous.
Right. Well, we've looked at a bunch of sources for this, and they really dig into this specific challenge. They talk about why translating constantly holds you back.
And importantly, they also offer some really practical, fascinating ways to actually rewire your brain to bypass that native language step altogether.
So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to pull out those core reasons why translation is such a blocker, and then unpack some really actionable things that you, listening, can start doing, like right away, to break free from that cycle.
Yeah, the goal is definitely to give you concrete steps. So by the end, you hopefully feel like you can move past that feeling of having mental subtitles running all the time.
Okay, let's jump right in. Why is it such a problem, this constant translating? What's the fundamental issue?
Well, the sources are pretty unanimous on this. It's just incredibly inefficient. Your brain gets caught in this loop.
Right, you have the idea.
Then you form the thought, but in your native language first. Then you hunt for the English words. Then you try and stitch them together using English grammar rules.
That sounds exhausting, just describing it.
It is. And think about the delay. Our sources point out this can add like up to 3 extra mental steps, which naturally makes you slow, really slow sometimes.
And it's not just slow, is it? It affects how you sound.
Definitely. It often leads to speech that sounds, unnatural, a bit clunky, maybe robotic. It just doesn't have that smooth rhythm of someone who's thinking directly in English.
Yeah, you lose the flow.
And the stress. Imagine your brain trying to juggle all that, especially in a real conversation. It's like running heavy software on an old computer.
Oh, good analogy.
Your mental CPU overheats, or sometimes your brain just freezes. It gets overloaded.
So that stress, that slowness, that unnatural sound, the sources basically say that's the main reason you might understand English okay, but really struggle to speak it fluently.
That's the core issue. You're building this indirect pathway. Concept, native word, English word, it's inefficient.
So the big idea, the game changer from all these sources, is you have to train your brain to skip that middle step, to bypass your native language.
Exactly. The alternative is about building direct connections, neural pathways that link English words straight to the concepts or images or actions.
So you see a dog and your brain just goes, dog. Not Perot, oh yeah, dog.
Precisely. Or you hear rain hitting the roof and you think, rain. Not the word for rain in your language first. It's about direct association.
That makes sense. It sounds much faster, much more automatic.
It is. It builds much stronger, quicker pathways in your brain. Retrieving words, forming thoughts in English becomes less effortful over time.
Okay, conceptually that clicks, but the million-dollar question, how do you actually do that? What are the practical steps for rewiring your brain like this?
Well, the good news is the sources offer some really excellent, actionable techniques. And they all stress starting simple, like really simple.
How simple are we talking?
Tiny thoughts. Little sentences in English using words you definitely already know. Things like, I'm brushing my teeth. It's hot today. I'm hungry.
So don't worry about complex grammar right at the start.
Not at all. Progress beats perfection here. Just get used to forming any thought in English, and tied to that is labeling your world.
Oh, right. I saw that one. Just looking around and naming things.
Yes. See an object, name it in English first. Window, dog, coffee, phone, door, cup, whatever's around you. No native words allowed in that moment.
It forces that direct link between the thing and the English word.
Exactly. It trains that direct association. Now, beyond just physical objects, another really powerful area is your inner world.
You mean like your internal monologue? Switching that to English.
Precisely. Try narrating your own thoughts in simple English. It might feel a bit weird at first, but just thinking, okay, what's next? Need to make lunch.
And then taking that even further by actually saying it out loud, talking to yourself.
Yeah. It sounds maybe a little odd, but it's incredibly effective. It's low-pressure practice. You can narrate your day, okay, getting my keys, time to leave for work.
One source mentioned standing in front of a mirror and just talking.
That works too. Or, and this one made me chuckle, having debates with imaginary friends out loud, like, is pizza a breakfast food?
Huh. Why not? Whatever gets the gears turning in English, right?
Exactly. Anything that gets your mind used to forming English thoughts quickly. Then there's using visual and auditory links more actively.
Like you said with brain, connecting the word to the sound, not just a translation.
Right. Or dog, link it to the image of a dog, maybe the sound of a bark, the feeling of fur. Make it multisensory, not just text.
And listening, obviously. Listening to native speakers must be huge here.
Absolutely vital. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how. The phrasing, the rhythm, the way sentences flow naturally. Your brain subconsciously starts picking up those patterns.
So you start thinking in those patterns yourself instead of translating sentence structures.
That's the idea. It helps guide your own thought process. And building on listening, there's shadowing.
Shadowing. Can you explain that one?
Sure. It's like immediate mimicry. You play a short audio clip in English, maybe a line from a movie or a sentence from the radio, and you repeat it immediately, trying to match the speaker's speed, intonation, rhythm.
Oh, okay. So it's like a workout for your mouth and brain to sync up, reducing that lag.
Exactly. It really helps bridge the gap between hearing and speaking. Now, moving beyond specific exercises, your actual environment is a big factor.
Right. Making English kind of unavoidable.
Yeah. Change your phone's language setting to English, switch social media interfaces, watch TV, maybe use England subtitles first, then try without. Write your shopping list in English, your to-do list.
Little bits of immersion everywhere.
The more your brain encounters English constantly, just as part of your day, the faster it starts to accept it as a default way to process things.
Makes sense. One source had a fun trick, the 5-second rule.
Ah, yes. When any thought pops into your head, just challenge yourself. Try to think it in English first, even for just 5 seconds. It's about interrupting that automatic translation reflex.
Interrupting the habit.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about this? Dream training. Is that really a thing?
Well, one source did mention it. The idea is, before sleep, you consciously replay parts of your day in your head, but narrate them in simple English.
Wow.
They suggested it can actually help reinforce English processing even while you sleep. Kind of fascinating, though maybe requires dedication.
Definitely dedication. But okay, let's be realistic. When you first start trying these things like talking to yourself or narrating your English,
Yeah.
well, it might not sound great.
Oh, for sure. And that's where embracing imperfection is absolutely key. You cannot aim for perfect, complex sentences right away.
One source actually said something like, me know like this is way better initially.
Exactly. It's better than getting totally stuck trying to perfectly translate a more complicated thought from your native language.
Yeah.
Directness trumps grammatical perfection at the start.
So you have to sort of silence your inner grammar police.
You really do. That inner critic can be paralyzing. Your brain learns through trying, through making mistakes, not by staying silent because you're afraid of errors.
Okay, so the main target, the bad habit we're zeroing in on, is that automatic translation reflex.
That's the one. And the core action is simple, though maybe not easy. You have to catch yourself doing it and then stop.
Just stop mid-thought.
Yeah. If you realize you're translating, maybe you even start stuttering because you're searching for words. Just pause. Take a breath. Don't force the translation. Instead, think. What's the simplest English phrase I know that gets the basic idea across?
Like, I like this, or I don't understand.
Exactly. Pivot to simple English instead of finishing the complex translation. Consciously interrupt the old pattern, force the new one.
Makes sense. The sources also mentioned some specific practice drills, didn't they?
They did. Things like those shower conversations, just chatting to yourself while you shower. Or commuter commentary.
Right, narrating what you see on your way to work.
Yeah, describing things outside, red car speeding, old man walking slowly, just simple observations in English.
And the kitchen bilingual ban.
Yes. Trying to cook or make coffee thinking only in English instructions in your head. One source even shared a funny story about burning toast while concentrating too hard on thinking in English.
High stakes practice. And they put some of these ideas into a sort of structured challenge, a 7-day thing.
Yeah, it's a nice way to build some momentum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Day 1 and 2.
Focus on labeling. Aim for maybe 50 objects around you each day, just naming them in English.
Reinforcing that object word link. Got it. Day 3 and 4.
Dedicate maybe 5 minutes each day just to thinking out loud in English. Or just internal monologue. Let the thoughts flow, however simple.
Getting comfortable generating English. Makes sense. Day 5 and 6.
Try watching a silent video clip, maybe nature footage or sports highlights, and narrate what's happening out loud in English.
Connecting visuals directly to English description. Clever. And day 7.
Day 7, try having a simple conversation with yourself. Practice asking and answering simple questions. Put the skills together a bit.
That gives a really clear roadmap to get started. So if someone actually commits to this kind of daily practice, what sort of timeline are we talking about? When might they notice a real difference?
Well, the sources generally suggest that with consistent effort, and it doesn't have to be hours, even 15 minutes a day, focused on active practice like talking, labeling, shadowing, you could start noticing a real shift within a few weeks.
A shift like those English thoughts might actually start popping into your head first, before the native language version.
Exactly that. The delay starts to shrink. That urge or need to translate everything begins to lessen. You see, fluency isn't just about knowing grammar rules from a book.
Right.
It really comes from living in the language, day to day, in those small inner thoughts, the labels, the little narrations. That's where the change happens.
It comes back to that idea of brain plasticity, doesn't it? Your brain isn't fixed. You can actually reshape those pathways.
Absolutely. You can actively train it, rewire it to make English more of a default setting. It just takes practice and consistency.
So the key messages seem to be patient. It takes time.
Definitely be patient. And try to find ways to make it fun, not just a chore.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive then, the core takeaway seems really clear. Getting truly fluent means you've got to train your brain to skip that translation step.
Yep. Bypass the native language. Build those direct connections, concept to English, image to English, sound to English. And you do that by actively using English in your daily thoughts and activities.
Everything from labeling your coffee cup to having little chats with yourself.
Exactly. Those small, consistent actions add up.
And when you think about the bigger picture, moving past translation isn't just about speaking faster. It's about sounding more natural, more yourself, maybe communicating more genuinely.
That's a great point. Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. If thinking directly in English helps your thoughts flow more naturally, more quickly, what surprising new ideas or maybe different perspectives might actually surface when your brain is freed from that constant translation loop? What might you discover?
That's a fascinating question. So we really encourage you. Pick just one thing we talked about today, just one tip. Maybe labeling 10 things on your desk right now, or trying that 5-second rule for your next thought, or just narrating making your next cup of tea in simple English. Give it a try this week. See what happens.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into thinking directly in English.